My name is Jay Salmon. I'm a physician in Lynchburg, Virginia. I've practiced pathology for over 20 years and then resigned that position to develop software, primarily looking at connecting a community better. I had no background with software development, only an interest in designing the software itself. So I needed a team to help bring that design to life. And so over the past 3 or 4 years, we've built up a very small but successful company doing just that. So our platform is a community connectivity platform, but it can be used for things like transportation. So the first project I did with Cleveroad, which was several years ago, was to initially develop a navigation-based transportation platform that allowed a rider and a driver to connect using all the technology that we've become familiar with for that. And then we've progressed that on to a much more advanced system where I went back and hired them to develop a social media-like platform that is kind of unique in the way it works and is really aimed at young people in a community such as a school system or a university. The reason I ended up going with Cleveroad was really that in the initial discussions of what I wanted to do, I was really happy with how much the staff could add to what I wanted to do. So that they had ideas that I hadn't really thought of, that were complementary, and were really were coming about really trying to help me build something that was going to work and be really effective. So I felt like they understood the project and were clearly able to not just do sort of what I wanted, but to contribute to the final product. And so I never ended up really going someplace else just because I felt like that was unlikely to be matched or bettered. Yeah, so again, in the interim, the first project I did, I honestly don't remember what languages. I was so new to the whole thing. I knew nothing, so I was completely reliant on Cleveroad to choose the platforms that we built, the front end and back end and the UI. We never even built an Android version of our app. As we had moved forward, as a small company, we had decided to use Flutter primarily for our the UI and the app side of things because it compiled to both, well, for a variety of reasons. But what I was really excited about was that Cleveroad was very comfortable, where other companies were stuck in sort of the things they'd been doing for several years. I liked that they were already very familiar with it, even though it was a brand new language. So we moved to Flutter, and from there began developing just immediately in the same. We used the same back-end platforms that we had built a separate app in that we wanted to connect the two together. So that was one of the things that I thought was really helpful and spoke to Cleveroad's ability to stay current on all the things, because everything moves so quickly, and continue to develop and learn as we went through the project. Even as we went through the project, Flutter was capable of doing new things, and we took advantage of that. I became pretty familiar with the people that I would see in meetings, although I also recognize there are back-end developers that I never saw. But folks like Alex, who has been with us through the entire project, and Artem, who's now doing a lot of the design work for us. A couple other people have kind of come in and gone. I'm not the best with names, and I apologize. I can still see their faces. But keep in mind, we worked through the projects have gone through the invasion of the country. So the fact that there's stability through the team is pretty impressive. And that's almost like that's something that's almost you can't even imagine having to try to deal with that. So you become very I must say the relationship becomes less professional and more friendly when you're working through an environment like that. But so we did a project that was several months long, and I think we were actually a little bit ahead of schedule. So we could sit there, a lot of teams will put forward a Gantt diagram of who's going to be doing what and how long it's going to take, and it's all estimates. I was pretty impressed that through months of work that we stayed just almost to the day on what's happening through that whole process. A very professional presentation of the way things would go, and then delivery, sort of the most important part of that project, exactly as stated and predicted. In fact, the only person that would derail that would be me when I would decide that I had planned something wrong and we needed to fix it. Kind of like building a house, and you go in and go like, I wish I hadn't put the door there. And they come back and say, well, we can move it, but a whole lot of things are going to have to change to do that. So extremely professional in the delivery of the product from start to finish. You expect a certain amount of communication from a business, but you also expect the business to be able to respect normal working hours. And for sure, it becomes a little bit more challenging when the country's 8 hours ahead of you. So those working hours are not necessarily coinciding with your working hours. You don't really expect people to be answering you in the middle of the night if you put a question out there, kind of hoping that they will just see it the next day. More often than not, Alex, project manager, would answer me in seconds, even if it was 2 or 3 a.m. his time. So he might not be able to get it done right then, but I knew immediately that whatever question I had been received and that it was being acted on. So that is way beyond what you would expect from a very professional business. I don't know how much more that you could expect from anybody. I think what we did most was leverage the creativity of the staff itself. I tried to ask the team, and it's not their job to kind of imagine if they were using our product, what would make it more attractive to them. And yet everybody had a lot of suggestions about how things should work, what they would find to be more engaging or more effective, and even working that into how the software functions, so that the things we were trying to do were not only effective in terms of the way the software functioned, but were straightforward and easy to manage in the background, didn't add massive unnecessary costs for some tiny little feature that might be a little bit more beneficial. So it really is like having the team's involvement in the development while you go. From the very beginning, from the first project I did with Cleveroad years ago, that was one of the things I really, really liked. And that's continued all the way out to the meeting we had just recently with looking at the next phase. So when I, particularly over the last project, Cleveroad has business analysts that looked at our business model and helped design and evaluate how I would be able to make this product work with my business to improve my business in terms of generating revenue. It just so happens that's not the traditional. We aren't using the traditional business model, so it doesn't apply so much to what we're doing. But it was really nice to know that somebody's looking there and kind of over your shoulder to say whether or not this is going to be effective for you, because that is really important. You're not supposed to be just spending money to develop something that's not going to be utilized or not going to work to make your business better. Yeah, like it took a little while to explain the difference in what we're trying to do, but it's always nice to know that is another factor that's been included in the whole process of developing software to improve your business. Oh, well, since we're getting ready to embark on another multi-month project, I think it's likely that we will continue to be working together at least as long as I'm still in this kind of business of developing software, which at present looks like it might be for many years to come. So hopefully this is just the beginning of a long partnership.